Hey guys, it's Brett from Iron Body Martial Arts here. How's it going? I run a channel here on YouTube that focuses mainly on old style traditional martial arts conditioning training. Today, it's a bit of a first for my channel. I'm going to do a reaction video. It's a bit of a cheap setup to Sensei Seth trying up some old school Kung Fu. So let's have a look at this. Forgive the cheap setup, but let's have a look.
As a martial art, Kung Fu is kind of known for its insane training methods. Super hard stuff. So what do we do on this channel?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You gotta try. And lucky for me, I happen to know a guy who, one, knows Kung Fu, two, looks like he was attacked by everyone, and won.
Yes. See, I love that. You know, good on Sensei Seth for going and trying these things out. I've had a bit of a back and forward with some of these guys over the years, but mainly they haven't really sort of responded. I've had a few words with them about various videos that they've made. But no, cool. I've always respected Sensei Seth for, just going out, and he's done it with quite a few videos, really going out and trying these things. Now, this channel of mine focuses on exactly these kind of exercises and has done for years. And people like, even like Mad Mike or whatever his name is, the other guy, there's so many people who poo-poo these exercises, and poo-poo the traditional Kung Fu stuff. But again, like I say, come and try it. Go to the people and try it and see, because it looks like they were doing some press-ups on the fists. Great exercise, great for any martial arts, great for fitness, great for toughness. It looks like they were doing some rolling on the arms there with the weighted sticks, which is big in Kung Fu. And the torque of the stick, the weight being just unbalanced on one end, really helps develop like an interesting kind of power, and just great exercises. Anyway, let's go.
That's a warm-up. Down here.
Hey, that's another big thing in Kung Fu. Warm-ups which just destroy you before you even train. Yeah, good old horse stance.
Up and in. So you're gonna go here. That.
The horse stance is a pretty integral part of Kung Fu. You hear stories of people just doing this for hours.
There you go. Now, see if you can draw your spine back. So like as you would build it, you would try and get straighter into that.
You mean I'm not doing it perfectly right now?
Yes, you are.
Oh, the amount of time in horse stance.
These styles and these poses, like this one here, that don't really like make a lot of sense for fighting. You don't fight like that, right?
This one is not particularly technique driven. It could.
Okay, so this is an interesting point by Sensei Seth. How many exercises do you do like modern MMA and modern sport? There's so many supplementary exercises now, using bands, using slam balls and stuff like that. Have a look at the modern fighters and all the different kind of calisthenic, plyometric, whatever exercises they use. There's whole channels on it. And what people have got to realize as well is, like, Kung Fu is an old martial art, and the actual advancedness of these exercises, given the time that they were in, I've always been impressed by, and I've always promoted on my channel. Like, it was only hundreds and hundreds of years later that the rest of the world was catching up with the fact, or sometimes thousands of years, that the rest of the world was catching up with the fact that, hey, in order to become a better puncher, you don't just punch. In order to become a better basketball player, you don't just shoot hoops. In order to become a better baseball player, you don't just hit baseballs all day. Strengthen the arm, strengthen the core, strengthen your twisting motion. And now you've got these multi-skilled athletes. So again, and I know Sensei Seth doesn't, like, he goes on to say, like, it's not quite that, but, so he's like enlightened about it. But like, that goes for the horse stance as well. It's like, people like, oh, well, what's this going to do in a fight? But, for wrestling alone, training the legs and training a low center of gravity is great takedown defense. And I mentioned it on my channel when I went to BJJ and I was doing MMA at the MMA club that I joined a year or so back, and the horse stance training and the low center of gravity was great for throws. It was great for takedown defense and just having a stable base. And even for the BJJ wrestling, it just meant that you had this like low center of gravity, stretched muscleness, that if you were like wrestling on your knees, you were stable and powerful. If you stood up to your legs, it wasn't easy for people to topple you or throw you, and it's just something you have to experience. So that's why they call it fresh on top, stable below. Because you're not fighting, the tension in your own legs. Your legs are free to be like powerful in a lot of ranges of motion. And this is another thing I'd say about horse stance. Horse stance isn't about muscles. It's about having first, and I've always said this on my channel, first, the flexibility in your legs and your tendons, which means power in your legs, lengthen and strengthen. Yeah. So it's actually first about flexibility. And I always say you're better doing the horse stance actually wider than people show at first, and then as you get more experience, bringing it in, because that's a big problem in the West. So anyway,
like, okay, I'm avoiding something, but we don't look at that one that way. We look at that for strengthening on the inside. So
yeah.
if I am with you, then just reaping and pulling. So just strengthen.
Yeah, there we go. So I mean, everyone has their own understanding and reasoning as to why you would use it, and these guys are saying it's to strengthen their legs.
Again, develop is all this stuff back here. That external work of you trying.
Because obviously they don't do much ground fighting and wrestling, so
without coming up, so that when you're boxing and stuff.
And of course for your normal stances.
Go forward easily without having to go.
This guy's awesome. What a tough guy. I don't know who he is, but really skilled.
Is there's this great big, like, mural, but it's not a mural. It's an art piece.
So there's a monkey on there. You have to spend the time to find the monkey.
Sifu Chris says he knows where it is.
Dude,
I like stuff like that.
awful.
But none of his students do. Wonder how big.
Concentration stuff. Good on Sensei Seth again.
Let's get on fingers.
Hey babe, can you get out of bed?
I don't know what YouTube does with the like ads of these or whatever. I don't quite know how these reactions work.
You're just gonna do
Oh,
okay.
so much fingertip stuff.
It seems like a lot of these are just designed to work on strength that you don't usually use, like the strength in your hands while they're open, not closed.
So here's the thing about fingertips. Yeah, this is awesome. I remember doing fingertips press-ups until like my finger bones like almost seemed like they started to bend. When I was first starting off, because I was doing so many. But here's the thing. There's a thing called the iron bridge. Yeah. And exercises like taming the tiger, where you're doing like a gripped press up on the floor, are so good because, okay, listen, iron bridge is the connection between the tips of the fingers and the shoulder. Yeah. So if you can imagine, any weak point from the tips of your fingers to your shoulder is gonna lessen the strength of your arm in gripping, in hitting, in twisting, in grappling. Yeah. So that's why things like this, because an example is like if you do deadlifts and you use you use what are those called, wraps, around the bar, those wraps. You never, obviously you're lifting heavy, but you never get that full connection between the fingers because the rest of the thing is stronger and your grip isn't just quite as strong to do the finishing bit, so you need the wraps to help the grip. And that's like a good example of this. It's like if you just have a fist and you just punch and you just practice punching, or you just practice whatever, you'll never have the true iron bridge of Kung Fu. Yeah, the iron bridge of Kung Fu or the strength of the arm comes from the tip of the finger, like I said, to the shoulder, and obviously through the body. So that's why you do exercises like this. It's like your arm can't truly be strong unless your fingers are strong. You can't have a strong arm. Like how many bodybuilders and this and that and stuff you see out there, and you know, they've got big strong muscles, but of course they've inadvertently got strong hands and fingers from lifting the weights. But then if you go into the semi-professional and whatever, you know, obviously comparatively people's hands get pretty weak compared to like the rest of their body and arms. And also, we're not talking about like muscle strength here, we're talking about like tendon power. You know, the tendons in your arm, yeah, that link your hand. You know, that's why in Kung Fu there's so many, and then, you know, there's so many of these wire exercises where you're gripping and flexing your fingers, especially in like, what do you call it, praying mantis style and stuff like that. And because the tendon power is so important for your overall grip strength, and grip strength is so important. So again, that's why you would see exercises like this for the bones, strengthen the bones, strengthen the tendons, strengthen the muscles. And also, just a one for you with this, you can do these, you don't have to do these just like these guys are doing them here, where you do this. You do them as well where you try and grip the floor, so you put a bit of negative power in there. Do you get what I mean? You put your hands as wide as you can and you grip the floor and you kind of pull up, and then you do the push-ups and you'll get even more power. Another one is, like I like doing, is you do them in an old style. You do them with your thumb onto the floor, this knuckle here. Yeah, this is called, the Japanese call it boshiken in goju ryu, uechi ryu karate. Yeah, and this builds up this strength of this for striking. Yeah, awesome. Anyway, let's go. Oh, bouncing. Yeah, sometimes you can do those on day one and then you can't do them like the next day. Like Sensei Seth. Big shout out to him for this. Real good.
Opposite way, right? This is what we're used to. Yeah.
This guy's tough, eh? Proper Kung Fu.
Sifu said you gotta have 3 things.
It's good because it's kind of like American Kung Fu. It isn't, but you know, it's like second generation Kung Fu. You know, he learned from his Sifu, lots of hard training.
You gotta do something. It doesn't have to be this. And again, this is all at your option. For whether you try this.
Hopefully you guys can see this.
Gator hops are doing.
Yeah, these are good.
This way or down here.
Yeah, brilliant. Again, the elastic tension power that you're building, and the pressure on the fist, the pressure on the bones. Pressure on the bones is one of the best methods for building iron fist training. And again, you see the flat fist, so that you don't get the boxer fracture.
We have jongs and other things and bags.
Jong is a wooden dummy, he means.
Slow, consistent work. This is that thing when they say do something 10,000 times. That's the beginning. Yep. That's the beginning.
My hands are not as tough as I thought. I could have sworn my hands were a lot tougher. I feel kind of disgraced by them. You can make your muscles stronger.
Yeah, you see, Sensei Seth is, you know, a lifelong martial artist.
But one thing Kung Fu and other traditional martial arts styles like to do,
but his hands feel weak.
A punch and kick conditioning.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, the wooden post in the floor. I've spent so many hours doing this.
In Chinese Kung Fu, that's a jong. It means a stake.
It means a wooden man, a pile.
That's what we really want to concentrate on.
Actually, in the 72 Secret Arts of the Shaolin, this would be standing like a pile, striking like a pile skill. The wooden dummy skill is a different skill. So that's what this one would be. And again, I've spent so much time doing this, and what he'll probably do here is hit his arm like this, boom on it. Yeah, what I like to do is hit the arm for the meat, hit the inside of the arm, and then also hit the bones of the side of the arm, and that's called twin locks, but it's done differently. But yeah, let's have a look. Oh, okay, he's doing swinging ones. Brilliant. So you're doing outside, inside, and you're doing it in a nice flowing motion. It's also a glancing motion, so it's a bit kinder on the, it's a bit mentally kinder. Yeah, there's a bit of iron palm style. And the the post moves, so absorb some of the force. It's meant to be good for your internal organs. If it moves a bit, it's kind of like a Chinese medicine thing. Again, I've spent so long, and look how tough. The shin kicks, yeah.
So you want to do this at the top here, and you got to run it all the way down.
Beautiful. I love this kind of training, man. And look, Sensei Seth is like, you know, he's done martial arts his whole life, and he's like, bro, these are evil. And that's another thing I'd like to say. These effing adverts, bros. Oh.
Easy. Ask a super cheap auto courtesy, Dad, and make it super.
Here, and you got to run it all the way down to your
So that's another thing I'd like to say as well, is like, look how simple these exercises are. They're like the beginning exercises. You can do them anywhere, but look how difficult they are. That is the essence of Kung Fu. Like, this is just standing there hitting like a piece of wood. And you might think like, oh, what good's that going to do? It's good, you know, whatever. But the cool thing is you could just train this exercise just like that, you know. You wouldn't have to try and make it into a fighting thing, but you could just stand there and train this dum dum dum. And I've done that myself, you know, just stand there, train it dum 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 dum. And then it's pretty much applicable to any physical contact martial art or sport. You know, if someone's coming to wrestle you, you're putting your arms up like this, and your arms are just like these like little wooden stakes, and they hurt people. And I've had that same feeling in the MMA club and this and that, where, you know, just these passive trainings, people go to grab you and you just put your arm up and they're like boom, and they hit your arm and they're like, oh shit, you know, and you just feel tougher, you know. I remember after I spent like 6 months or something, or a couple of years away in Belgium training on this tree, then I came back to my old dojo, and my old instructor was like, you know, I was there for a while, but then he pulled me aside. He was like, Brett, man, like, not to blow sunshine up your ass, but, you know, even just like shaking your hand feels like, your hand is just like, feels just like hard, you know, it just feels tough. You can just feel like how much conditioning you've been doing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, blowing sunshine up my ass. But yeah, it's not for everyone.
I feel like a lot of people think of Kung Fu and they think of like a up in the mountains way of training and doing like.
Those are cool too.
But I feel like
The hanging
much